guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's story time is going to be about my labor and delivery with my oldest son, Jackson Taylor. September 6th of 2016, I went in for my final prenatal checkup with my doctor. And that day I found out that I was 2 centimeters dilated, but I had not effaced at all. So that was like some good and bad news. So I was told I didn't start labor by the 7th at the end of the day, then they were going to induce me on September 8th. So it's September 7th now, and all day I've just been feeling like garbage, just feeling kind of slow and sluggish, and like I just don't feel like my normal self. So I had some unusual cramping, or not unusual cramping, but I had cramping in an unusual place on my body where I don't normally feel cramping. So the cramping had came in waves, and it was just like, it was like mild, and it came and it went in waves. Like, it was really strong, like period cramps in a way. So I just kind of like brushed it off. I was like, yeah, okay, well, it's the same cramping I've been feeling like all week, right? It just started getting worse. Like, it came more it came more frequently, and every time they would come and go, they would be way more intense than the last. So I told my mom about it, and she said, oh, well, you're probably starting to go into labor, it's not like real contractions yet. They're just kind of like starting contractions. So the next day I was going to be induced anyways. So I hadn't really worried about it. Well, that night it got worse. They got way worse. They were very frequent, they were painful, they were to the point where my mom had started timing them, and they were just frequent, right? So I said, okay, well, tomorrow's my induction date. I'm just gonna sleep it off. And we'll see how I feel in the morning. I didn't get any sleep that night. So the next morning, at 4:53 in the morning, I called the hospital, and I lived right down the street from the hospital. Like, it was a 10-minute walk. So that was pretty convenient. I called the hospital at 4:53 in the morning, and I said, hey, I'm supposed to be induced today, but I've been having contractions since last night, and they've been getting worse and worse, and they're more frequent. And I said, oh, okay, well, you can come in when you start going into active labor, because all of our rooms are booked up right now for inductions. And I was like, okay, fine. Not even an hour later, I started going into active labor. And it was painful. So we said, hey, okay, it's time. We need to go to the hospital. So we loaded up into my mom's truck. We got all the baby stuff, got our bags packed. We got the car seat and everything that I needed for labor and delivery, right? We drove to the hospital. We got checked in. And they started the induction process. They got me hooked up to Pitocin to make sure that my contractions kept going, and got an IV, all that good stuff. So once they got me all hooked up and checked out, I was 3 centimeters dilated at this point. I was going. And I wasn't quite effaced yet, but I was almost there. I think I was like 50% effaced or something like that. I don't remember a whole lot. It was It all happened like so fast. I'm so sorry for my child. He's just a little monkey. I don't know what his deal is. So anyway, I was 3 centimeters dilated, and I was just laboring and laboring and laboring. Finally, I got to 4 centimeters, and I asked for the epidural. I was in so much pain. I was exhausted because I hadn't slept while I was at home. And it was just getting exhausting at this point. So I said, yeah, give me the epidural. Oh boy, that epidural was the best thing ever. It was wonderful. I slept for the first time in what felt like days. And once I got it, I actually dilated up to 7.5 centimeters, right? Okay. Once I got to 7.5, I had stopped progressing for some reason. And my doctor checked me. He said, oh, you should be progressing like super fast at this point. You know, you shouldn't be stopping or slowing down and so on and so forth. So I was like, okay. So he gave me an option. He said, well, you can wait about another hour and a half and then we'll come and check you again. I said, okay, all right. It wasn't even like 20 minutes later. I guess the nurses and the doctors, they noticed that my baby's heartbeat had been dropping like dramatically with every contraction that I had. And that was freaky because I hadn't dilated any more than 7.5 centimeters. His heart rate was going down with every contraction. And it was just a freaky feeling like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? My doctor came in and he said, nope, we're taking you back for an emergency C-section. So I was like, oh God. Because the C-section was the last thing that I wanted. I had heard horror stories. I had heard about, you know, how much harder it is to recover after a C-section versus a vaginal delivery. So I was just like, oh, whatever. But, you know, at the same time, I was kind of relieved because I was so exhausted. You guys, I labored for 26 hours with my son. 26 hours. I was exhausted. And that epidural, yeah, I got some sleep, but it wasn't like the deep sleep, the kind where like you go to sleep and then you wake up and you feel like a brand new person. So they got me all prepped up for a C-section, got the hairnet on me. They made me take this nasty medicine. It's like grape soda flavored that's supposed to help you with nausea or it's supposed to help you relax. It was disgusting. And like 2 minutes later, I threw up because that's common after you take that little vial of medicine for a C-section. Anyway, so then they wheeled me back to the OR and I was already numb from the epidural, so I didn't need to get like a spinal or anything. It was super nice. I just got in, they put me on the bed, the operating table, and I was good to go. So it is now, it was really early on the morning of September 9th, 2016. It was like 4 or 5 in the morning when they said I was gonna have to have a C-section. So yeah, it was pretty fun experience. So they started the C-section and it was strange laying there with a curtain in front of your face and, you know, like a foot away they're cutting you open to get your baby out. So that was an experience in itself. At 7:31 a.m. I'm gonna get teary-eyed thinking about it. At 7:31 a.m. I heard my baby's first cry. That was such a beautiful experience. I could not believe it. immediately started crying when I heard him crying, and I was just like, yes, you know, like, yes, he's here, he's fine, he's all right, he's beautiful. 7:31 a.m. on September 9th, 2016. He was 7 pounds even and 21.5 inches long. He was a long baby. The first thing that the doctor said to me when he pulled him out was, "Oh, no wonder you stopped dilating at 7.5. Your baby has the cord around his neck twice." So that was some news right there. And you know, that's also why his heart rate kept going down, because with every contraction it was putting pressure. He had some trouble breathing, so he was in the NICU for about an hour and a half, 2 hours before I got to hold him. And I think it was, I was wheeled to my postpartum room, and it was around 9:40 in the morning on September 9th, and they wheeled him to me. And I got to see him, and I was so drugged out from the C-section. That moment when they placed him on my chest, on my skin, it was such an overwhelming feeling. It was so overwhelming in such a beautiful way. I can't even begin to describe it when you hold your child for the first time. Oh God. It's such a beautiful experience, you guys. Everything was good. Once they brought him to me, he breastfed immediately. No bottles, no pacifiers. I mean, he was just a perfect little boy, beautiful little boy. God. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever experienced in my entire life. And all that laboring, all that pain, all that stress was so worth it. Meeting my little boy for the first time. My first little boy. I got to meet this beautiful little boy for the first time on September 9th, 2016.
Tell me.
I will. He's got a bee bite, he says. It's a bee sting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then we spent the next 2 days in the hospital recovering and getting to know each other and learning how to breastfeed and just figuring out how to be a mama and, you know, how to figure out this whole journey. So on September 11th, 2016, we were discharged from the hospital. And you guys, I was so nervous to take him home because I knew that I would be doing it by myself. And we'll get into that. That'll be a whole different vlog story kind of a thing. But yeah, September 11th is when I got to take him home, and it was from there on out, it was just, you know, gotta figure it out and how to be a mama. So yeah, I just wanted to share that story with you guys, and I'll definitely be doing a labor and delivery story with Carter. But for now, this is Jackson Taylor's labor and delivery story. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!